All right, hello and welcome to Stampscapes Friday Night Live. I'm going to try something that I go in and try these things that I'm really not quite sure if they're going to work out quite like I hope, but most of the times I'm kind of I'm hopeful, I should say, but I'm not really quite sure. But I don't usually go into something that I don't think is going to work, okay? And that's kind of what I'm doing here. Okay, so what I have here is a half-page piece of gold foil. Okay, it's just standard gold foil cardstock. Okay, it's not a printable vinyl. It's not a holographic or something like that. It's just your straight, cheap foil. All right. Now, I have used this with Brilliance inks in the past, and I really liked it. You're gonna have to spray seal it. It doesn't retain the real super reflective glassy type of look, but it'll take on more of a frosted look if you spray seal it with a workable fixative for the most part. Okay, I don't know if there's some kind of technique maybe going on with a thicker slathering just right off the bat and hitting it with a thick spray. Maybe it'll look a little bit more glossy, true to its inherent state. But I've used that just with black, white, and gold inks before, and I think they were all Brilliance inks, okay? But I really want to see if we can kind of introduce more colors into the mix in the form of maybe the alcohol markers and acrylic paint pens. All right, so the alcohol markers, if I do that on here, I can't really stamp these out in StazOn ink, all right, because alcohol markers are just going to lift that right off of the surface unless I spray seal it first. Maybe I should do that and then go in with the markers. I'm not really quite sure. Or I can lay down some alcohol marker foundations right here and then just stamp right over the top of them. Maybe that'll work. I'm not really quite sure. Hello, Patty, Bugs, Linda, Cynthia. How are things going? Let's see here. All right, so here's my thoughts. Okay, so I thought I'd bring in some color into this foliage right here. It could be green trees or something like that. Certain types of green I think should harmonize pretty well with gold. I'm gonna have to stamp them out in black though, and then use the paint pens to go in with the gold. But this area down in here, if I want to lay something down, I'm gonna have to do it kind of blind, with just some general kind of swatches with my alcohol pens. And then, okay, so here's the compositional idea. I'm going to stamp this Seaside Cove right in here, and then this Mystic Tree is going to be positioned right on the horizon. And then we might go with this right here. And this one will be a little bit, I was going to say, or that could be down there a little bit. Maybe this will be on the horizon. This one will be down here. Something like this. Okay, I'm just formulating it right now. My biggest thing is trying to come up with a kind of a workable okay, maybe we'll just go with one. I got to simplify this because I don't, I just don't know how this is going to work out, if at all. Okay, I'm doubtful, and I'm not just saying that, and I tried it out, already or something like that. I got to work this out here in my head. Okay, so if this is like this, I'm going to do those little baby sea turtles down here too. I thought that'd be kind of cool. This little kind of super reflective, shimmery type of surface right here. I figured a moon or something like that up here, all right, done in white, and that will give us a foundation for reflected light in here as well. I might have to use a lot of white pigment ink on here just to get some sort of foundation for some color in here. and I don't know. Let's just go from there. Okay, so let's see here. I need to get my bearings here. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of I'm going to do a little marking right here on my cardstock, just so I know the general vicinity of this stamp right here, because this is the area that I want to create a little bit of color in. All right, I haven't tried like this technique at all either. Okay, of just doing preliminary alcohol marks down here. I've done it with white pigment ink. I've done blocking out. Okay, but I want this color to be in here, so let's give it a shot. All right, so what color should we lay down here? Let's go with, I plan on doing a little bit of green, so let's bring in some of this. I'm guessing that the alcohol markers will mark on this foil with no problem. Okay, now they're transparent, and of course this, this paper is super reflective, but you can see that mark there of this alcohol. Okay. All right, so it's really super light. This one, it's just it's a lighter tone, I think, just inherently than the gold of this paper. I gotta concentrate here, so I don't know what I'm talking about. I can't talk right here. Okay, so I have that right there. All right. I mean, this ink looks lighter if there's reflected light coming off of that, but just like that, actually it does look darker, even like that. See, it's darker than this, I guess. Yeah, okay, that surprises me. Okay, but let's go for, okay, so this Mystic Trees right is going to be darker at the base and lighter up here, just in general, okay? So let me try to get a little bit of a darker base. Let me see, maybe not this green, that looks like a Christmas green. Let's go with this one right here. Hello, Jeannie. Hello, Kay. Hello, Verna. If any of you have done this before and would like to chime in as far as advice, let me know. Okay, now see, this is, alcohol inks really want to absorb into the surface, and when they dry on the surface like this and you go over it with another variation of it, of course it's putting the previous color back into solution. You know what I mean? So it's like dissolving that base. But if you're on that, if you're on the in the Stampscapes Facebook group, you'll have seen the luminaries that are being posted and all of that kind of alcohol ink on the vellum with all those different types of textures. That's kind of what I'm going for here. A little bit. It's going to get covered up, but if we can get some of that cool kind of alcohol ink kind of texturing going on, at least to some extent. Like I said, it's just going to disappear when I get some, the impressions over the top of that. But if we can see a little bit of that underneath the impressions, I think it'll be kind of interesting. But we shall see. Okay, so this is the Seaside Cove. This is going right here. This is Seaside Cove Small. And then I'm going to have some kind of light source right up here. And then I'm thinking I want some areas on this water to be a little bit illuminated, maybe right in here. Okay, so let's make this out here a little bit darker. So let me see if my marks are down there. I don't know if I can see it. Here, I'll just do it with the pen. Okay, so I can see where it's going to go, so let's just add in some tone from here. This is probably way too light. I should probably go darker. This is a really super light blue. Let's go with the medium blue, at least here. I want to do one of those luminaries, but I was looking at those luminaries and um, I got to concentrate on this color if I stop talking here. But those luminaries, they have this little tea light, little LED candle, like at the base of these round luminaries, and I was thinking it looks really cool to have that flickering light coming from kind of within the scene and outward, down to the water. But I was thinking that maybe if we block that off and make a little compartment for that one LED, and then up top here, those small packs of like a string of like 12 Christmas lights or something like that, have those in like white or blue at the top of the luminary, and I think they can look like little twinkling stars, especially if you have like a flicker bulb on one of them. I think that'd be kind of interesting. Showing right through the vellum. If you don't know what I'm talking about with those luminaries, it probably is like you're thinking, like, what the heck are you talking about? But these luminaries being created, not by me, but they're like she makes these vellum pieces and then lays down a bunch of alcohol inks, and I think on the back side of it though is where she is stamping and embossing the imagery. And then she takes these flat, vellum pieces and then wraps them around like this. And it looks like a frosted candle holder is what it ends up looking like. And she connects those up and then puts the tea light down below in these things. So it like makes this like column, looking structure with the that light kind of glistening and flickering on the inside. It looks like, like light, shining off the water or something like that if it's a water scene that she's making. So it's really pretty cool and fascinating, especially when she has it on that little, I don't know, whatever it is, this rotating kind of thing. Unless, I don't know, she's rotating it by hand or something like that just for the photograph so you can see the whole piece. But it's really cool. All right, so adding this down like so, and you can see this is not at all smoothly applied. And I don't think it needs to be because I'm going to be stamping that entire image right over the top of it, okay? So, again, not great content for this video because I get all this kind of reflected light, but hopefully we'll be able to see this a little bit better once I start stamping my imagery right over the top of it in black, okay? All right, let's get a little bit more of a darker tone at the base here, this little island right here. I'm just gonna go with the green. Maybe I'll bring in some of this green down in the water too, like this. Like an aqua or something of that sort, like that. Okay, and I'm not sure what I should do down here, if anything. I should probably have something, but I'm going to have a lot of textural types of forms down here. Maybe we'll bring in just something. We need maybe a little bit of some tone. I'll bring in some brown. Let's bring in some of that brown up here too. What I figured is that I'm going to be doing this not knowing what I'm doing at all, and I'm going to have to be doing like a ton of kind of blending afterwards, okay, which is usually what happens when I'm working with some sort of new combination of media. And I fall back on, some tried and true techniques, and that's usually which is doing something with the white pigment ink just to kind of mute things over and to kind of unify everything. But we'll see if that works in this case. Because it might have to be kind of extreme. All right, let's see this now. I wanted to do a full page piece, but I thought, oh, that's, that'd be like insane. You know what I mean? Because if it doesn't work out, then you're working, it's not working out like twice the size. Okay, so I just think that I can do it in Brilliance ink, but I just think that the StazOn is going to be a better choice for this, especially if I'm going to be bringing in a lot of acrylic paint pen work over the top of it. So we'll see. Needless to say, this scene, the technique here is not, I'm not going for like realism, like in really any way. It's just kind of more of a stylized look here. Okay, StazOn. Okay. All right. I'm wondering if I should add in that white right now. Because if I add it in afterwards, it's going to be over the top of the black here. Oh boy. Okay, let's do that here. Let's add that white in at this point in time. Okay. So white pigment ink, all right. Okay, so if you're going to give this a try, if it comes out, you know what I mean, you want to give it a try, apply Brilliance white. Okay, don't go for it like I don't think you can go for an oil-based pigment ink on cardstock like this. I don't think an oil base is going to dry even if you spray seal it. It might be just kind of permanently floating on there and prone to manipulation and movement if you touch it. Okay, so I wouldn't recommend that. Okay, so let's see here. Let's go for some clouds in the background. I think that's going to be really needed here. All right, my paper towel is like ripping like too perfect. I need it more kind of rounded here, so. All right, this is something like this. Okay. We'll have some clouds in the background here. Let's go with something like that. Okay, if you can see it, my horizon line right there with my pigment inks is there, which looks totally nuts right now. So we'll see what it looks like with the impression stamped over the top of it. But let's mute it out a little bit too with some pigment ink. So pigment ink, white pigment ink to the rescue every time. Okay, so when you're doing this type of template, very loose template of a ripped paper towel, and if you're going for clouds, you can give it a nice, hard, defined shape like that on the edge. But what I recommend is just kind of moving things around, and I think the cloud takes on a little bit more of this kind of organic shape. So you can see I was right there, and I'm just kind of moving it up here and going for this other line. So you're just kind of moving this around a little bit. You want to keep it like constantly moving or anything like that. You kind of apply it like that, and then you move it a little bit. Okay. All right, and then you do some free form stamping as well and go above that line. That's what I do with not just foils or something like this, but I do it with just about all of the different papers that I use for use this type of cloud, whatever technique with. All right, so it looks like that. Let's build it down a little bit more. Let's see, let me go right down into this water down here so that we'll get some of this kind of reflective light coming from above down in my water when I stamp it out in that section there. your cotton ball starts to fray a lot, so just kind of smash it down like this and get it nice and flat again, okay? This cotton ball is picking up a little bit of that alcohol application. I noticed a little bit of blue on here. Okay, so come out this way. I'm going to use some white on here afterwards too with the acrylic paint pens as well. All right, now here's my question. Should I come down here and add that down? I think I will. I think the StazOn will adhere to this. You know, this is going to be a loose, floating application of white on here, so I'm hoping that without spraying this, I could stamp an image over the top of it and it'll just adhere, or, you know, it won't just peel off the white, which is always a danger when something's not affixed to the surface, you know, previously applied medium is applied to the surface like that. Instead of transferring the StazOn, you could just be lifting off, you know, the white in this case. So we'll see how that goes. And if that happens, I'm just going to have to, you know, go outside and spray seal it. I'll spray it with the spray fixative, the fast drying spray fixative. Okay, so this is what the baby sea turtles will be on top of right here. So I'm trying to apply a little bit more in here. It's kind of, I'm getting some kind of weird patterning on there. Oh, that's the edge of the, okay, this is interesting right here. That's the edge of my alcohol ink. So this ink right here is adhering to the alcohol ink more than it is just the bare paper, bare cardstock. That's what that is right there. Okay. It's interesting. I guess that alcohol ink is affixed there, and it's creating just a little bit more texture than this super shiny, almost chrome-like, you know, surface. Okay, let's go for a little bit more texture here, too, in the clouds. We'll go for a little bit more depth. So I'm bringing this down a little bit lower, like about like so, and then creating that within that form right in here. Let's see, let's kind of bisect this one as well. So I'm coming in here, and I'll go down like that. And then you just go, you know, apply this right around that edge, like that. As it just creates a little bit more variation within that space. That's a little bit of a harsh line right there. Let's connect those two. So let's go like that. Right, and now that's probably drying a little bit darker than what it looks like, but, you know, after it's been freshly applied. So let's apply a little bit more of it. I mean, I can do this later too when I, you know, stamp some other things. If it gets too transparent, then you just can't keep building it up. But see those clouds like that developing? All right, let's get our light source in here. I'll go for like a fairly large, I don't know what it is. It could be a sun or a moon. When you're doing it on this gold paper, it's, you know, it really could be either. All right, my thing got stuck here. I might be going for a much smaller one. Man, all right, got stuck in there. Do you have to lubricate these things or what? All right, so this is it's going to be right here, I think, because those trees are going to go. Let me get my bearings here. Okay, the tree is going to be right there, so I just need to make sure that I leave enough space for it. One of the things too, one of the little things that I try to do is I try to make this, you know, orb, whether it's a moon or a sun or something like that, a little bit varied. So I'm going for a heavier concentration up top, a little bit less below. Sometimes it's the opposite, you know, it's just, doesn't really matter what you do. It's just as long as there's a little bit of variation in there. It could be left to right or something. But the more kind of variation you have like that, see that's a little bit lighter and a little bit darker down there, the more rounded something looks, the more uniform something looks. It looks, you know, flat, right? Because there's no variation in lighting with it. So you can see that right there. So we have reflections off the clouds, down there in the water, and then down here in what will be kind of the sand, right? So you can kind of see it developing like that. Kind of looks kind of interesting just even as it is. Let's get a little bit more tone right in there. Or lighting, I guess it should be. Maybe I really like that look up here. This might be a little bit boring up here, so let's add these clouds in here like this now. Let's have a little bit of a bottom or top lit clouds from underneath this source, and maybe I'll have them a little bit bottom lit with these clouds coming from over the top. Maybe I'll do it a little bit at an angle like this, just to have some of it in there, okay? And sometimes you just do it a little bit. Maybe these clouds up top are darker. Yeah, you can make it uniform, whatever. They can be lighter too. But just again, you know, just going for a little bit of variation. How about this one? I'll try to make this cloud closer to the light source, a little bit more white right over here, like that. And then remember that edge right there, and let's diffuse it again. Let's go over the top of it a little bit more, like that. And see, that's a little bit lighter. And then how about, we'll leave it crisp right there, then I'll just come in here and make this a little bit more diffuse down here. So you're going from crisp, or diffuse, soft, crisp, diffuse, you know, soft again. And then let's add a little bit of variation right back in here. So it's down here, and then you just come up here and apply, you know, just however much you want. Right in there like that. Again, just for a little bit more dimension or depth. About like that. Okay. I'm hoping that the more of this white that I apply in here, the more, the better chance for success with the rest of the card will be. I'm telling you, white pigment ink can really be your friend. You know, I've really been trying to preach that in just about all the videos that I use it, which is like, I don't know, 99.9% of them. Okay, so that's what that looks like right there. So you see some of that color over here still, and some of this color over here still. Okay. Let's see. Sharpen the punches with tin foil. Oh, that sounds familiar, Linda. Yeah. I haven't heard that in a... Yeah, but that sounds really familiar to me. Thank you for the tip there. Isn't it strange how that would sharpen it up? But yeah, I seem to recall that. Hello, Annie. I think kitchen foil works good. Yeah, why would that be? You know, you think that stamping through that kind of thicker type of thing would almost make it duller, right? But it sharpens it up, huh? All right, so let's give this a try here. I wanted to do, I thought about another thing that I was thinking about doing was another piece of clay board. But I want to do a piece of clay board, but I want to do in something like the spirit of, you know, Halloween coming up and make it look real mystical or something like that. Pull out some funky images, but on that clayboard, I can really build up a lot of different things. I mean, I could do it on cardstock as well, but you know, that hardboard panel would be very, very easy to apply your different crystals and you know, like those glass tiles that I used on a previous piece on a holographic foil. But having it on that board though, and something really stiff like that would be, I think it'd be pretty cool. All right, let me see if I can get this stamped really fast on here. I'm crossing my fingers that this stays on ink transfers. I'm probably stamping this too long. I should probably stamp it less with the stays on so that it transfers. If it doesn't transfer, then I'm going to go to Brilliance ink, and it stamped over the top of it just fine. Okay, it's a little bit heavy though, like way too heavy. I'm talking about the alcohol ink in there. So okay, so that alcohol ink stamped really heavily in there, but I can, here's the thing, I think I can remove some of that alcohol ink just by whisking in my blender pen, right? You know, it should act like an eraser. So we'll see how that goes. But I don't know, let's see. And let me add some more shading in here too. Or I can add more white pigment ink over there. Huh. I can add more white pigment ink in there and just stamp it again. I don't know, we'll see how this goes right here. But it's just kind of weird. All of a sudden, by stamping out that image over the top of it, I don't know why that alcohol ink suddenly, it looks like it showed up more, unless I remove something that kind of reveals it more. I'm not sure. Okay. Stamping this low enough. Sometimes I stamp this a little bit too high and I get a gap between the horizon line and this image, so I'm stamping it a little bit lower this time. Okay, so we have that like so. It looks like a nighttime scene like that. I'm seeing it like, see, I'm seeing this card when I'm looking up in my video right here. You're looking at it almost like at a 90-degree angle. I'm viewing this card like, I don't know, with a different here, like with that lighting like that. So it's a lot lighter like that. I'm seeing it like this down here from my angle, like at a 45 degree, but I just noticed when I look on the screen here, it's much, much darker. I guess because you're seeing my ceiling. It's reflecting my ceiling up top. Okay, so anyways, let's see here. Let's get some additional textures down here. So right now it's a little bit, well, maybe a lot too colorful, but I'll take care of that here if I can in a bit. So what I like to do is when I'm doing, I guess that white pigment ink was kind of blocking out. But what I like to do is I like to envelop my imagery in lighting. So what I'll do is I'll come back in with more white pigment ink over the top of this. And again, it's kind of an experiment with the acrylic paint pens in here. Okay, now I notice when I do this with the stays on ink, you can only get so many impressions before it's like completely dry. So when I'm coming into this area right in here, like after a couple impressions, I'm not really applying black in there, but I'm removing white, which might be a good technique in there. Like that, so it creates a good transition between the black ink compressions over here, where you can't see it at all. Here we go. Oh, I don't know. How can I show you this? It's like too glary. You can kind of see it like right there. If I get the right lighting in it. I can see it right here in front of me. Remember these studio lights on here, it's not going to be kind of, you know, the lighting that someone would be looking at this card from anyways, like that. Okay, so let's see here. Blender pen. Let me go use my blender pen because I hardly ever use this and I know there's a lot of ink in it. Okay, so I need to blend out some of these areas in here. This is almost like stamp board in a way. I can kind of come in here into my ways and lift some of that ink right off of there that I've applied underneath my impression. Now I just need to see if I'm removing the impression as well, which I don't want. This is like removing like really easy. Okay, I'm starting to pick up some of the no, that wasn't the STAZN. I removed some of the white pigment ink there. So it's a little bit of a subtractive process right here. Okay. See that right there in the water? So I'm kind of revealing more light, like right through here. And it's coming off really easy. Maybe I spoke too soon. I guess where there's a thicker buildup, of course, it's coming off a little bit more reluctantly. Actually, it's pretty easy, though. Actually, this pen's getting a little bit dry, maybe. Let me use that other... That set right there is, like, ancient. Where's my, new blender pen right here? It's interesting over here in the white, if I remove some of that, it's getting darker because the gold paper. Okay, I think that should do it right there. See that? Right across in there. And then let's reveal a little bit more of the highlights in the rocks here. Again, I need to be careful in there because it does remove the STAZN impressions. Okay, so I have that right through there. And let's see. Let's retexturize up here too with some of these additional rocks where I've removed some of the impression of those rocks in there. I'll just get a little bit more texturing in there. All right, this is not a good live stream type of thing. You can't see what's kind of, it's kind of like that, okay? That's more the lighting, but it looks better in person right there. Everything just looks so dark without that, or just like that right there. I don't know, maybe it looks better. It hides my applications in there. Okay, let me see where those little sea turtles are. Let's go for a fairly large one here. Has anyone here ever stamped on gold foil before, or just any type of cardstock? Metallic cardstock I'm talking about. If you haven't, it's pretty fun to play around with. On the Stampscapes channel, I have the the metallic playlist, and there's a lot of applications of just the Brilliance ink, black and white Brilliance ink used on the foils, and they're pretty fun. The one thing about the foils, the Brilliance though on the foils, is that you really have to spray seal them. There's just no getting around that. I'm gonna have to spray seal this one too, but I like to spray seal sparingly if possible on this type of paper, again, because it becomes a little bit more of a muted color than like a frosted gold than that super mirrored gold up there. So when I'm spray sealing, like maybe I'll just kind of, I'll have a piece of paper and I'll spray seal like that. So I'm getting like right around in here and just a little bit around that. Or like I might just take like a piece of paper or something like this, and I'll go like this. Okay, when I'm spray sealing, I don't put it right down on the paper, but I hold it at a little bit of a distance like this, that I'm spray sealing mostly on those clouds right there. And then when I do this one, I'll get it like this. I'll hold this paper down. So it is getting, a little bit of overspray in here, but I'll try to, avoid just the pure larger areas of that foil if I can. Sometimes it's hard to do that if it's just kind of smaller portions of it. But anyway, okay, so we have that right there. All right, so let's see. So speaking of Brilliance Black, maybe I'll come into that right now and try to add in some additional tone and shadow work in here. We need a better type of applicator than like a cotton ball. I think a Q-tip would be a little bit too small. Maybe some types of sponge would be good, but I'm just going to go for something really narrow like this, okay? And I'm just going to try to blend in some tones in it, and then we'll get to the acrylic paint pens, okay? And we'll see what we can do with that. That's what I really wanted to see on here. Not all this other stuff, but I don't know, I guess I wanted to see the alcohol inks in here as well. But if we can come up with a really great combination of media, which is what the Brilliance inks, I really like those, just black and white Brilliance ink. Or gold. If you stamp out gold on this, it looks pretty cool. But if we can expand it into a little bit more color, I think it would make it more versatile, a surface. Okay, so let's add it right down at the base of this island here. And then I'll have this island casting a shadow. I know it looks like absolutely black right now, but in the lighting, there's a lot of light and color down here. Blotchy applied color, of my doing. Okay, and then at the base of this seaside cove, I'll try to add some of this tone as well, and create this kind of little, vignette right here. You already see the vignette too, but see, I'm kind of getting that black right in there and right in there. Okay, and I'll create this vignette down at the base, and it's going to, in theory, kind of blend out my all of that highly textured pebble area. Okay, go like that right in there. Okay, so you can see what the black is down there. Right here it looks like totally black, where I didn't apply that white, but it's not like that. It looks, again, it looks more like I can't show you what I'm seeing here. I guess it's like similar to, it's not that glary, but I don't know. It's different looking. Okay, let's see here. All right. I should really spray seal this before I start applying the acrylics, and I'll do that if I have to, but if I don't have to, I won't. Okay, so gold pen, I haven't used this one yet. I don't use like these large metallics too often. Well, let's see if we can get some colors into these trees. Like I said, this is not a, maybe I won't do too many of these types of projects anymore, not in terms of a live stream anymore. There's just too much glare over this, and I'm not sure if you can see like anything. But let's see. Hello, Bonnie. 6CPT. What's that stand for? So you mean like Central CST? Oops, I'm touching all my white pigment ink here. I'm losing my clouds. That's another thing with this. You have to be really careful about what you're touching in here if you don't spray seal. Okay, let's see here. Let me go ahead and add some of this down here while I'm doing this repair work here too. Just so I kind of get a little bit better bearing on where I should apply some of this acrylic pen work. Okay, so I'm going to bring in, I was talking about enveloping our figures in like a cloudy mist or something like that, so we have that pigment ink in the background. And this will make it easier for you guys to see too. So I'm going like right along my horizon line, okay, where that Seaside Cove is stamped out. And I'm going to bring some of this white pigment ink right up in here. So it's like going around this, I don't know if it's an island or whatever, but it'll envelop our object in that same atmospheric quality and lighting that's present in the background, okay? And I think that makes it it brings into kind of a kinesthetic quality into the scene by having something kind of surrounded by, you know, a certain type of light in this case, okay? So let's bring that in like that. I think you'll be able to see it better too without all that glare, like everywhere in the scene. Okay, so I'm trying to, here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to add it heavier right over here, and then I'm kind of bringing it a lighter touch right over into this area. I'll go a little bit more extreme. Normally I wouldn't go over here, but it just so you can see it a little bit better like that. Okay, so you see that island now? Like that, with that lighting on there. All right, and let's do the same thing. Here, let's do it with, just so you can see it, see what's happening in here a lot better. Let's go into these waves and get a little bit of those kind of spindrifty types of, you know, kind of white caps coming off the crest of the waves. So, all right, this isn't going to do it right here. I'm going to have to use a Q-tip, something a lot more narrow for this. Let me see. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring the kind of the forms out of the background here a little bit. I can see them where I am, like that. Okay. Well, okay, here we can see what I'm seeing a little bit better like that. But right there, it's like, you know, it's like black, you know, looking. Okay, here I go like this. I don't know. I don't want a bunch of blotches here, so I'm going to try to be careful about trying to kind of taper it a little bit. We need a gold foil clay board so I can just scratch this into it. All right, see that right there? I'm gonna try to do that. That looks like it totally stands out because there's none, none of it going on in the rest of it. So let's add some of those highlights in the rest of that wave area. Okay, a little bit. It's a little bit too extreme, but I'll just dab it off accordingly. All right. Let's get a little bit more of it. Here, let me add some more of it right up there in that horizon too. I'll have some more of this light coming into the horizon and the wave area down here. Like that. Actually, it's looking better and better the more I kind of obscure everything. So when I talk about I'm always talking about the white pigment ink, you know. Just if you put white pigment ink over something, it tends to make it look better. It enhances, but it also obscures. So sometimes by obscuring something, you're enhancing it by, showing less and less of it, like a certain mark or technique or something like that, or, it might be an object in the background or something like that. Okay. All right, that looks a little bit harsh, but I'll balance that out. I'll try to balance it out a little bit more. When I get in there with the paint pens. Okay, looks a little bit like it's glowing. I think yeah, I'm picking up some of that blue alcohol ink on there. So all right, something like that. Okay, actually, I need a few more of those. Those are really helping out there. Those little kind of reflective kind of highlights on the tops of the waves, like that. Okay, just like that. It's like you're pulling. It looks like I'm. It looks like I'm kind of creating like those little bioluminescent kind of like those. What are they? It's plankton, right? Those bioluminescent organisms in the water sometime during certain times of year. It looks like it's glowing down here with that alcohol ink kind of merging with the white here. Okay, so I'm going around my crashing rock down here. I think this is a little bit too detailed for my Dr. Martin's bleed proof white, so I'll just add that down there with pens, like some crashing waves down here. But I don't know, it's starting to look a little bit more dramatic though, isn't it, with that lighting in there? It looks a little bit, it's a little bit awkwardly applied here if you look at it in person, but I don't know, it might lend itself to the technique though. I don't know, it looks a little kind of choppier and like stormy in there. So see, if it was applied really, with great skill and dexterity, we'd say, Yeah, that, this cove, it's like really nice and tranquil and everything like that. And if you do it kind of sloppily, um, without, too much control or precision, then we just call it, stormy and kind of more dramatic. All right, so there's the waves like that. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. I That's a little bit too blue right there. I'm trying to get it a little bit whiter, and I might have to do that by spray sealing it and coming in there with a little bit more white. Yeah, let me see if I could build it up a little bit more. You wouldn't think that that alcohol ink would merge as much with this water-based pigment ink, but I don't know, it seems to be doing that. So you never know. Um, Sometimes with certain types of media. All right, so we have that right there. That area in the background starting to fade out a little bit, or it's drying darker than what it looked like when it was freshly applied. So let's go for a little bit more of a thicker coating. Let's add in another layer back in there. So you just keep building it up a little bit more and see that right there. And then let's vary it a little bit, and we'll have it a little bit thicker right here. Okay, so it's going from lighter, darker, lighter, like that. You know what I mean? So you just kind of mix it up a little bit. Okay. Set. No. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's no set time, Bonnie. I should have a set time, but a lot of times it's kind of when I can get around to something. It's like I didn't know, it's like I asked the family, hey, are you hungry? It's like, not so much. Okay, well, I'm going to do my live stream now then. Otherwise, I would have come on later, actually. But I told my son, it's like, okay, well, if you're not really hungry right now, it's like, okay, I'm going to do my live stream. And you're cooking. Normally, my son, he's like at the gym from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Fridays for what they call open gym. But I don't know, he tweaked his hip yesterday doing some kind of move or something like that. So he's taking the night off from that. All right, so there's that right there. A little bit too blue again, but we'll add some things to that. All right, so I'm going to add in some foreground here too while I'm doing this. And then we'll come in with some of our more detailed work with our paint pens. You never know what these scenes, like these experiments, are going to really become about. It's almost becoming about kind of adding in, like sandwiching layers of imagery in between pigment ink right now, in order to get that area right. Okay, so the reed's large. When stamping on top of these like slick papers that are non-porous as well, StazOn isn't really necessarily a slippery ink or anything like that, but you have to be careful that when you are making your impressions on this type of really slick paper, I almost moved it right there a little bit, but I did, in fact. Just what I was just about talking about was it's easy to make your impression because the ink isn't being absorbed into the surface at all, and it's easy to skew it like that. So it's like, because it's just so slippery and you have wet on this, it's almost like stamping on glass or something like that. So you can see this reed right here kind of skewed a little bit, which is, I don't know, not really any big deal, but you got to be careful about that. And Linda's on here. Linda B does all of our good experiments post live streams, and she just said, "Hey, Linda's has informed us all that if you get something like that, the stays on ink remover cleaner will just remove that right off the right off the surface like that." I don't know if we were talking about the gold foil, but it was something else, right, Linda? Or maybe it was. Maybe it was like the silver foil, for the like the reflection cards or something like that. All right, so let's see. I'm watching this on the West Coast, Patty. Yeah, I'm Pacific Standard Time. I used to go on a little bit later too, but I'm trying to get on a little bit earlier these days because a lot of people are on, whatever, Eastern Standard Time, Central. So when I jump on at like 8 or something like that, you know what I mean? I don't know what time people go to bed, but yeah, I'm trying to jump on a little bit earlier these days. Okay, so we have this going on right here. I have my white paint pen, and I do want to use some gold on here, especially like up in the trees or something like that, but I don't know. Maybe this scene just isn't going to, you know, allow for that. We'll see. I do want to get some more color into this, though. So I don't know. Maybe the color is going to be, predominantly the alcohol inks down here, which I do like. I like that blue in there, that glowing blue. Okay, I'm going over the top of my pigment ink here with my paint pen, and it's an extra fine paint pen, so bear with me here because as I do this, some of that pigment ink is going up into the barrel here, and it has something in Brilliance ink that, it's designed to be fast drying, so I might have to keep scribbling, that out and getting it flowing again. That being said, maybe you should spray seal your pieces before you do this so that you're locking down, your Brilliance ink and not digging it up into the, that small kind of, whatever, paint passage. Okay, I didn't some of these around my splashing waves. I'm kind of trying to add this right around the crest of the waves in some of these areas where it's a little bit lighter. Okay, I'm not going to do it too much where it's, like really dark. Okay, this is what I'm doing here too. Here's my little tip for doing these highlights on areas like this. Okay, do you see this one right here? You see how it's a little bit more condensed and then it peters off like that? So largely what I'm doing here is I'm doing something like this. I mean, you can do it all kinds of different ways, but this is my trick right here. I taper it off like that, so it's a little bit thicker somewhere, and then I taper it off like that, okay? Right around my crashing waves like that, what I do is let's imagine this is the rock right here, okay, and there's some crashing waves. The splashes are more condensed right around the splash, and then you have more space in between the more distant splashes, so it dissipates like that, okay? So the lighting is dissipating as is a crashing wave or something like that, right around the source of it, it's going to be the most dense with water. Then it spreads out like that, right? So that's what I'm trying to do in a little bit. I have it more around the the rock, and then you just create more distance as you move away from it. So you get this tapering type of light. Because this might represent, bits of water that are being illuminated down here, but it's being reflected, by the moonlight, so it's illuminated down there. So what you're doing is you're kind of dissipating light. So, in shadows like this, it's going from darker to lighter in here, right? So with the highlights, when you start illuminating some area, you have it stronger at the source of the brightest, in this case, reflected light, and then as it moves into the darker area, you dissipate it. And what that means is you just kind of have more space in between, those dots or something like that. Okay. Now you don't measure it or anything like that, but just, I think it looks better than just having it like this, like completely like uniform like that. If you just kind of, taper it off. If it was a line, it would look more like that, where you have this kind of thicker lighting like that. And you can do these little strokes in here too, like, like that and like that. I usually don't do that too much. I usually use dots in here, especially over the top of this medium, because if I go like that without spray sealing that pigment ink, it's just going to be digging out the pigment ink that's on there. So I have to add, this little dot type of application, okay? Now, if I spray seal it, maybe I'm doing other things. Maybe I'm doing some cross hatching or something like that, or, a different type of stroke, like, that we were doing, like with, the clay board last week. You can get more of these gestural types of, applications of things. Yeah, let me see. Here, I can add on a few of these little lines here. Alright, so that water area is looking... Okay, I might have overdone it. But here, let's add some of this highlighting up into our rocky area as well. Hey, let me come up in here. Oh, I just noticed where I did some of these little streaks back in here. I didn't add any white, I just removed some white, so they're actually darker. Some of them worked out, but I don't know. It depends how fluid your pen is flowing, If it's really flowing well, then maybe you can get some line work in there. Okay, here it's clogged, I think. I think it's from all those scratches, so just scribble it out and get it flowing again. Like that. All right. Okay, so on the tops of some of these rocks right here, add that highlighting in there, about like so. I'm just hoping I'm not, by putting my hand right here, I'm not kind of erasing my moon up there. But if I did, I can just redo it. See, it's a little bit more illuminated, closer to the light. Over here, it's darker, right? So you just use, I don't know, fewer little highlights or dots or whatever, reflected light, like that. And we have our trees right in here, and I'll put some highlights on the sides of the trees facing the light. If it's a real narrow trunk or branch, then, it doesn't really matter so much. But if it's a larger one, I'll add it, have a more prominent kind of application of that white on the illuminated side. Okay. All right. See that right there? Those trunks, and it goes as it moves up. Here's the foliage right here, by the way. So you can see that where these branches move up into that thicker foliage, it's just like a couple dots here and there, like that. But let's Let's have it a little bit more prominent here because I am going to use some color over the top of that, or try to. All right, so see those branches right in there. And I'm going to go over the top of them with some colored ink if I can. We'll see if that comes out. Oh, I've got that patterning of my paper towel all throughout these clouds now, but I'll just have to reapply. I'll just reapply that ink in there. I don't know if you could see it right there, like right there where I've added that towel down. It just kind of removed it. It's one of those things that makes this surface like really forgiving because you can remove something that you've applied if you don't like it. But it is, if you get something that you like, you just have to really try to avoid it as best as you can. But I really needed that down there because I wanted to apply all that in there without having to go in like this, you know, kind of at a very awkward angle or something like that. Okay, so some illumination down here in amongst our sea turtles, our baby sea turtles. We really want this area to kind of glisten and look really magical. After all, they're kind of the stars of the scene. Okay, like that. All right. And, oh yeah, look at that moon. It's totally patterned. All right. I'm starting off with a new cotton ball here because I think I picked up a lot of color on that other one. And plus, cotton balls are real cheap. I think one pack of cotton balls, I don't know, it probably lasts me 2 years and I use them a lot. Okay, so if you just joined in, one of the things I was talking about is kind of variation within your applications with something like this. So I'm going for a little bit of a thicker application of this pigment ink on one side of this orb, and it could be anywhere you want. It could be at the bottom or the top or something like that, wherever you want. And that way you just get a little bit more variation within that space, and that's the same thing with the clouds, okay? Just kind of vary your application where it's a little bit of a thicker application in some areas. It'll look a little bit more illuminated, and other areas will seem a little bit darker, so you get that nice variation in there, and it looks like it's more kind of rounded and dimensional. Okay, so I have some of this tone running in through the base of this. I think it might be kind of cool to have some of this pigment ink coming here amongst these trees as well. Okay. And down here in these waves, let's hit that a little bit with some of this as well. I went a little bit crazy with my highlighting down here, so I'm just going to diffuse it a little bit. Actually, some of this around the horizon might look kind of good. It'll be creating kind of a mistier, illuminated horizon. Like that. All right. Okay, let's try some different variations up there in that tree with some, I don't think I've used this gold yet. I think I thought it was brown or something like that. But I just wrecked that again right there with I don't know what I did. All right, there we go. Okay, so let's add some dimension in here. Let's see what this gold right here. I was going to say the gold is probably going to be different than the gold that we see down here, but I don't know, that looks pretty similar to that gold right there. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, so I'm adding it over some of these tree limbs right in there. I didn't know if I would cover the entire foliage on there, but I think it looks better as just kind of like a highlight on there. It's not super light or anything like that, but like when you go like this, it's like absolutely invisible. When you go like that in the dark, you get that little bit of contrast in there where it's kind of got a lighter area. So, okay, so I'm applying some of this like on each one of these limbs right in here, or on most of them. I think I'll do that, and I'll apply it on the top of the branch so it'll be a little bit more illuminated on the top, and then it'll have the black base. Okay, so hopefully it'll look a little bit more dimensional in there, and it'll stand out against this at certain angles, a very dark surface. So you can see this gold foil at certain angles. I mean, it's practically black. So again, it just depends on what it's reflecting, because it's almost like a mirror. That's why I use it for my mirror reflection cards. Alright, so that is that. And let's try to get some extra color in there as well. This gold here, let's see, let's bring it down here into our, right around our sea turtle area too. I'm going to hit it around, not in the lightest of areas, but kind of right around on this transitional area where the gold is about the same tone as the gold back there. But it'll just kind of stand out a little bit with certain types of lighting on it. Okay, so let's see that down there. It's kind of like right around this zone right here. If I add it in this area, this dot is going to look dark instead of as a highlight because it's lighter in here than this color. So I'm hitting it in the area roughly around the same value. You can see how reflective it is still with my hand right here in those areas. So it's just straight, you know, gold foil like that. Okay, let me see. Now I wanted to see what some of these colors would look like in here. Let me see if I have the right colors for that. Let's try green up in these trees. I think that might look good against gold, and it'll pair with some of these colors down here maybe. So let's take a look. This might be lighter than that gold, except the gold is catching some light. So let's take a look here. This is, again, this is a 3mm pen, so pretty thick. Maybe I should go in there with my extra fine paint pens just for a little bit more detail, but I think this looks okay, especially up in this foliage. All right, like that. It's subtle, but that's what I want. I don't want anything to stand out too much. My pigment ink is definitely picking up color. Linda. See, like that, there's a little bit of this bluish tinge on here. So that's why I switched out to that new applicator. Oh, you can see it right here. See, it picked up all that color right down there when I was applying it down there. But just switch out or spray seal and then go in there again. This area right out here, I'm not going to do it right here, but this ocean, if I didn't have the sea turtles, I would put a ship right here. I think that would be perfect for that little area. Okay, let's see. Let's add some of these tones down in here. And how about some of this? In our water. All right, so I get a little bit of this greenish glow down in here with these colors. Oh, why not? Let's add some of it down here as well. Just for a little bit of that color continuity between the different areas. But yeah, that pigment can really pick up a lot of the media that you've already applied. But I think the spray sealing is going to really remedy a lot of that, Linda. So if anyone has spray sealant and you want to go for different layers, multiple layers of things, or more extreme layers, try to spray seal. And I'm beginning to really appreciate that in terms of sandwiching things, not just sealing down everything on an overall, but really getting some extra layering in there. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if I spray sealed this with a workable fixative. I can probably bring in some colored pencils in here, where if you just try it right now, it's just going to scratch that right off the top. You know, there's no way you're going to apply anything. It'll just come right off. But the spray sealants have really been, I don't know, kind of instrumental in the last, couple scenes that I played around with. In layering a lot of different types of things that I didn't necessarily think would work with colored pencils and kind of some really thick additions of alcohol inks. I didn't, but I don't know, it worked out fine. Because, normally spray sealants, you kind of associate them with your graphite types of things, chalks, pastels, dry media like that. But I don't know, the wet media took to it pretty good, I would say. All right, a little bit more tone here with the white. I'm going to apply a little bit more white in a lot of these areas because some of it is going to be prone to fading out a little bit and becoming much more transparent with those spray sealants on there. But I think that will be pretty good. And then you can add more on there if if you just lost too much of it. But I think it'll be okay. With that, degree of layering on there. Can't tell if that's something on there. I got a piece of something on there. I think it's a piece of lint. There we go. Watch the pressure that you're applying this with on top of something like a foil here. Because if I press too hard, I'm going to remove it, okay? So it's like finding the right pressure. And I would just type it lightly and just with repetitively, it's that you're transferring your media down there as far as this pigment ink goes. All right, so let's see. Um, hmm. I want to get a little bit more shading in here. I know it looks like really, really dark, but like that, you know, when the light kind of reflects off of it like that. I want to get a little bit more shading underneath there. Let me see if I can just add this down here, if this is going to work at all. I might be able to apply some of this black ink over the top of my alcohol ink. I'm not sure. No, that's not doing it. I think I'm just removing the alcohol ink, in fact, with this colored pencil. Yeah, that's not going to do it. This is a pretty soft colored pencil, but it's not that soft. Oh, you know what I can do with this here? I can model some of these applications of the white ink, though. I can remove some of it, so I can just scratch back into it, I think, and just kind of shape it a little bit more. So this is like a scratching mechanism. I'm just going in here and I'm just kind of removing some of that pigment ink. You know what I mean? Going in there with a Q-tip and like cotton ball. It's not exactly the most detail, you know, oriented applicator in there. So yeah, this works out pretty good. I mean, you can use any type of thing. You can use a pen with a cap on it or something like that or whatever. Or if you want to go in really fine, I guess you can do some like cross hatching into your clouds if you want to. Let's try some of that here, actually. Let me grab my scratch knife right here. I'm kind of curious about this. I'm just going right into my my white pigment ink that I've applied. I applied it pretty smooth, but let's see what this looks like. I don't think it might not improve it because I think those clouds look pretty cool as is, but let's see if we can get a little bit of a build up a little bit more character within some of these clouds in a couple areas. Let me see here. Where do I want to do it? I'm not sure where I'd want to do it. Oh, okay, so between this, here's a little bit of a lighter area of this cloud and a little bit darker down here. Let me see something right here. Let me see, I should do it from the opposite direction. I should pull this way. So I'm seeing if that looks, you know, I'm going in and creating a little bit more separation and shadow in here. It's not creating like black, it's, you know, I'm scratching down to the gold of the paper there. So let me just do this really lightly like this. It's a little bit harsh, but I think if I come in here with just a couple dabs over the top of it with the, you know, the pigment ink again, and that'll look just right, maybe. And see this little separation down here. Did I see Annie? Annie was on, right? Annie was talking about a scratch board or a stamp board, you know, clayboard class. You can practice on gold foil with the white Brilliance ink pad like this. Okay, I'm doing a little bit of this thing called cross hatching in here, and I'm just creating a little bit of separation between some areas of the cloud. I got that right in here and right in there. I'm just kind of more fooling around. I don't necessarily think this is looking better, but I don't know. I'm just seeing this for like future reference here. Okay, I'm gonna just tone over this so those little scratches aren't necessarily just going to be gold. They're going to be a lighter shade of white now that I'm applying that into it, okay? So it stands out a little bit too much, but when I do this right here, it blends in those little like fine-tuned little cross-hatching types of things, and you can see a little bit of reflective light coming through there. I'm not doing it too extreme right here because I don't feel like really doing, I don't want to redo a bunch of it, but I think that could be an interesting type of touch in here. If we want to do like wisps coming off the clouds sometime, we can tap this in here, but this is going to be a little bit awkward because it's going to be thick, but then we can come back into it like that possibly and just scratch back in some little kind of finer tuned, you know, transitions again, you know, talking about transitions. Okay, so let's add in a few more of this, a little bit more of this white pigment ink again. The white pigment ink seems pretty vital in here, doesn't it? See, I'm adding this down here. Let me go ahead. This is really dark in here. I can see some variation like that, but I think it'll be more important for it to kind of stand out a little bit more with some, you know, a decent degree of lighting here. So let's just add some of it in here. I'll just add a real muted version of it in a couple areas right in here. See that real glow right there? If you've never seen one of my videos before live streams, this is definitely not instructional. It's much more experimental, and this one's like an extreme kind of experiment. Although, I don't know, adding in some of this area right here, it's really kind of, it's solving a lot of my problems that are happening in here. Like down in here, I got that nice glow going now. It's real subtle, but at least we can see that area now a little bit more. Okay, like that. I'm going to bring some of this actually down here into these reeds as well, I think. It's that little beach, you know, grass. Like that. I don't know if you see a little bit better, like right in here and right here. It's just a little bit more of a muted version of, you know, that. See, I'm bringing out some of this light out here. It was just too dark. So you get the benefit of the reflective quality of the gold, but it's just not quite so extreme, maybe. Let's see. Okay, I can't remember what the last Friday night live stream was. Was it with the trees? If it was with those trees, go and check out Linda's work on both Flickr and the Facebook group. Linda did 20 versions of that for us, like we said, showing it in different, the tree, transitioning tree in different incarnations. She didn't do 20, but I don't know how many you did, Linda, but they were all really cool. So it's like evolved too. The first one was really cool, then it changed into this other one, and then it changed with the like the lighting in the background, and really cool different versions of it. So they are posted. I think Linda on Flickr. Linda, add all your stuff to the Stampscapes Facebook group too. It's something that people can remember to find that easier. But or just check up Linda Bystrom on Flickr, and her name should come up. I don't know if you added all the tree ones on the on your Flickr account. But yeah, go check them out. They were much more of a kind of a developed concept and finish, than mine was in that video from last week. All right, so I'm adding more lighting in here. The more I add, I think the better it's looking in here. So at some point in time, it might be a little bit overkill, but not quite yet, I think. See, we can see these areas out here. So this is what you do with this type of pigmenting too. You just add it in a very thin layer. You know what I mean? So it's not going crazy in there, and you can see if you like it. And then if you like it, you can always add more. But if it's something that kind of stands out a little bit too much, or it looks like an awkward type of texture, if you've just added like barely any of it on there, it's not like a big commitment to it. So you can kind of get the gist of how something's going to look just by adding a little bit of it. Like especially if you're adding like a new color to something. If you're just going a little bit darker, then it's not really going to be a big change. But on something like this, it's like the opposite. I'm going a little bit lighter in some areas, and I just go a little bit lighter, with each layer. And that way, nothing really sneaks up on me. Something people talk about like ruining things, and it's because when we're often doing like detailed types of work, we're concentrating on a small area, and we're not looking at it like overall to see how it looks on the overall. So sometimes we're concentrating in these little like 1-inch square spaces like this, or 2 inches or something like that, whatever. And then sometimes when we zoom out and we look at the whole, the piece as a whole, it's like, oh my God, that went like way too far or something like that. And that's when, people think that it's kind of a process that's kind of precarious, but just don't make it a precarious process, you know what I mean? Add a little bit in there, look at it overall, zoom out, in some ways, because oftentimes we're working in a zoomed in area, which we have to add in those, certain types of marks into our piece. But then just remember, just to constantly, get the, take it in, from the macro, as well as, working on the micro little areas. So you'll get a better feeling for it, of what needs to be done. Look at it from different angles too, as well. And, your eye will be a good judge of, what, you probably want to do or add to the piece. Sometimes it's remove, something. Okay, so adding a little bit more this back into it. I lost some of my kind of crisp little lights, so I'm just layering in some little bit more down here. See that? It's kind of like illuminating down there now over the top of that diffusion. Let's kind of emphasize that kind of splashing, you know, wave on the rock like that. And I've lightened up some of these other areas too, so I'm going to add a little bit more highlighting in there. If I've added some white over there, I'm saying that, you know, more light is hitting that area, so it could stand to use a little bit more highlighting. Okay, let's see. All right, let's see if I can stamp out this bird stamp without squashing it down or like skewing it on my foil. So just light, even pressure. I don't know. That didn't stick to that very well. I'm not doing it again. I think... Oh, that one. Okay, that one removed ink. That's why I didn't stamp out very dark, but... well, some of it applied. I think the two smallest birds removed white, revealing the gold instead, so... I was thinking about diffusing them over anyway, so there's, I don't know, they're really light. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if that looks good or not. I don't think it looks terribly bad. If it, well, I don't know. I'll decide. I can always just go over it again with the white. Nah, that's too light. Let's do this right here. Eradication. Oops, that's my... Where'd my clean one go? Here we go. Oh, no, that wasn't... That was the... You know, this is relatively clean now. Okay, so I was using it a lot more down there, and I got more of that... It picked up more of that color, Linda. Just like you were saying. I'm surprised that... I'm really surprised that it picked up... Well, I guess it shouldn't surprise me that it picked up the alcohol ink, because the alcohol ink is probably floating on that surface a little bit more. It's not really adhered very well. So, anyway. Okay, so it's, you know, there's ghost birds up there. Okay, I want to go with one more color. I didn't do what I was thinking I was doing on here. I thought I would apply a lot more color with my pigmenting, I mean not pigmenting, my acrylic paint pens. This one ended up being alcohol ink on, you know, kind of a non-porous metallic surface experiment, I think, more than anything. Okay, so I'm going in here with a little bit of yellow, so instead of just gold up there, it's a little bit yellow too. So I just wanted to pick up that tree a little bit more like that. All right. So I don't know what I think about this process right here. There's certain things. You like it, Linda? Let's see. Always pigment. Foils are okay to use on StazOn remover, but not, yeah, not the holographic. Like printable vinyl for sure. Oh, the holographics probably aren't as non-porous as the silver and gold, for example, then probably. Like the mirrored one then? Okay. If I don't catch the live, I watch the replays. Just have it on permanently, Bonnie. 24 hours a day. The videos. Yeah, okay, so certain things on here I really like the look of. This to me looks like a kind of like a painted, you know, like a scene or something like that. And then we have the benefit of it being extra kind of reflective. Now, it doesn't look like that because we're not really looking at the scene like in a, you know, real super glary light. But this is, you know, the light that I think people would be looking at it for the most part. So, I don't know. There's just some things on here. It was kind of weird. Now, this is, again, this is like the first time I've done this before. I think what I would do if I was to do this again, I'm stamping out all of my things in black ink, right? My composition. And then I'm spray sealing it, okay? And then you're going in and coloring your areas in here with your alcohol inks and things like that. So you can get very specific areas. I can get underneath my wave in a very specific area and shade it, color it, shade it exactly the way that I would want to, as if I was working on a white piece of cardstock, except it's on reflective foil. And then I would go over it with the, I would come into it with, I mean, some of the white could be laid down before your impressions too. Maybe you lay down some of the white and then you stamp your images over it with the, the stays on or something like that. But like that water area, I would color that later. But that being said, though, I wouldn't get that blending of form down here in this kind of real painterly type of look if I did that spray scene, because I wouldn't get the, some of that alcohol ink kind of merging with the other colors like it did on here from having not, sealed it down like that. So that being said, though, is it worth it? I don't know. I think it'd be the whole kind of process of getting that color onto gold. I think it's just going to be easier just to spray seal everything down, lock it down, and just go in there and color. And then I think I would come over the top of it again with some white pigment ink like that. But I think it would be just a lot easier to do. I think it'd be a really simple process, actually, to do it that way. So I'll try that again sometime. But I like the look in this. I like the spirit of this one, like especially up here. And I wouldn't have added so much white in here, but it was just too glary, I mean, no one could see what I was doing on here with, until I added some of this white pigment ink over here. So it's just, but I think that looks pretty good in there. I think that little, this area back in here looks a lot better with that pigment ink down there on the base. So I don't know. I'll have to think of something to kind of frame this off with these colors in here. That aqua blue and greenish tinge in there is kind of interesting amongst this area. And okay, so see, if I'm spray sealing this too, maybe I'll do that, and I'll show you what I do on either a live stream or just a pre-recorded one. But maybe I'll spray seal this right here, and see if I lock down all that pigment ink in there. Right now, if I just run my finger through there, it'll just come right off. But if I spray seal this right in here, then I can add in with, I think, some either alcohol inks or colored pencil if I use a spray fixative, which is textured. And I can add in like some other tones, like maybe some of these blue tones that are down here. I can add it like in some, just, really a bare, just a hint of some of that blue up in these clouds. I think that would be awesome looking. Or if I can bring some of that, really light blue down into this, kind of reflective area down here. I think that would be really cool too. I'm going to try that. I'm going to spray seal it, and the big trick is I want to spray seal this thick enough to where if I'm using some colored pencil, I'm not digging into the white pigment ink. If you just do a real light coating of that spray fixative, you might still kind of dig back into the white and remove it, which I don't want. So I want it thick enough, but not so thick that all the white just absolutely disappears. So, and then adding like a little tinge of some color like around on the edge of this. I don't know, what is it? Is it a moon? I guess I see it as a moon now. So maybe I would hit it with a little bit of a green or, like a bluish tinge like around here or something like that. Or you can have it come from up top here. Maybe that'd be more interesting to have it a little bit of color up top there and have it lighter underneath there like that, So I think that'd be kind of interesting if it worked out. So we'll see. Let's see. Hello, Vintage Scrap Girl. Say, do you by chance have plans for Annie wants to take a stamp board class. I said maybe I'll do a couple more projects with that clay board, and we'll have a clay board, stamp board type of class if anyone's interested in playing around with that. That's one of those things. I use it in a specific way, and there's different types of things with the tools, on how to use those ones. But when you're starting off with those types of materials and surfaces, it's almost like saying, okay, we're going to have a class on how to use, cardstock, or like a canvas, like a blank canvas. You know what I mean? Because you can really do anything you want on that stamp board. But as far as the subtractive types of marks, using the scratcher knives and things like that, that's a really fun way to work. And like I said, if this composition was on stamp board or clay board, scratch board, I would just have a ball going in here into these waves like that, and on these trees, adding in highlights like that on the clouds, like we did last week. So, but it would be fun kind of adding it in a more colorful way like that. Maybe I need to play around with more colors on those stamp boards. I've done that before, but a lot of times I'm going monochromatic just because it shows the scratches in that type of thing a little bit more with more contrast like that. But I really like how this foil looks with these highlights in here too, and that contrast between some of these like crisp little colored dots and that misty, white pigment ink in there. So, I don't know. I need to play around with that a little bit more. I haven't done that too much with I haven't used like gold and silver foils in a while, because it's kind of a funky medium to work on, and the holographic printable vinyls, it's like the opposite. Those things like take just about any media that you want. It's not gold or silver though, but it's a metallic, and then you can really do a lot of different things on there. So I haven't been doing that, but there is something to be said for this gold and silver foil. Normally I'm just stamping just black impressions on it, okay, for like a mirror card. I realize that a lot of people don't know what I'm talking about with reflection cards or something like that. So this is just the same type of material. This is a silver one. See, I'm just normally stamping on it in black ink like this for, this reflection type of card like that. So I'm not doing like a lot of coloring and modeling on this surface. I keep it really basic. Here's just impressions in black ink with a little bit of white highlights up here. Here's a little bit of the white in there and just stamping on top of it like that. But I don't do like this type of modeling on there normally. Because it's, like I said, it's a weird surface to work on. Things aren't affixed to it, so. But I don't know, there is some different potential in there like that. It's just a matter of whether it's kind of worth it or not, for someone to play around with. I definitely think that, it's something to, check out though. You know what I mean? For the stamper that, a lot of people have the gold and silver foils, in their paper collection at some point in time. So I don't know, maybe play around with it a little bit. Maybe, it doesn't have to be a larger, this is a half-page scene like this, but do little types of Christmas ornaments or something like that, and I don't know, just have some little mini scene on there, or mini whatever you want to do on there, and see how it comes out. So for me, it just wasn't coming out, with like a lot of my experiments, until the white pigment ink, kind of like dominated the application, whatever the process, that was used on this. It was mostly about the white pigment ink being used over the top of it. So That's something that can really bring a lot of different types of things together, especially if it's looking a little bit awkward or a lot awkward, like some of this was. So, make friends with your white pigment ink, and anything that you're kind of experimenting around with. A lot of it can come out pretty good, just with a lot of that pigment ink over the top of whatever you're doing. I'm serious about that. It saved me on many a scene in the past. And if I didn't use that white pigment ink on here, this would look like really bizarre. So, anyway, let's see. Candy's favorite thing was Linda's was the confusion tree. That was the confusion tree, that one that was like splitting in half. I don't know how you did that one. Yeah, that was a really cool piece there. If that's what we were talking about. All of them were, though. Hey, hello, William. Good to see you. How's it going with the succulents there? William likes like a lot of plants. Send William plants. Absolutely a master. Oh, thanks so much, Nicole. I like how it turned out, you know what I mean, overall. On this one here, just the way I figured it would be, I thought it would be pretty wobbly in there. Like, especially like right after I stamped all my imagery on the top of it. I thought, oh my god, how am I going to blend in that, all the colors that I layered down in there first in that technique. I'm not doing that again. Like I said, if I'm doing this again, I'm doing the colors over the top of the sealed off impressions like that. But yeah, I don't know. I like the feel of this piece like this. Like I said, I don't know. It's like really different, and I did a lot of different things on here that I normally wouldn't do because I had to try to make something of a high degree of mess that was going on in here. So so you come up with different techniques and looks or applications, you know what I mean, in certain areas when you're trying to, you know what I mean, you're trying to like just make something reasonably presentable or something like that. So yeah, I don't know. For me, it's a little bit of a different look. To me, this area in here looks like oil paint or something like that. Someone posted something recently on the Facebook group too, that she did a bunch of photo stamping pieces, but then she did one just on cardstock, and I thought that one looked like a painting to me. So I think that after she was doing, you know what I mean? There's different types of techniques that you use on like photographs too, where you're stamping on top of that background in there. And to me, some of those looks and colors that she got, I think she did it after her photo stamping pieces. So I think she applied some of the things that she was doing on the photo print, photo stamping, which is stamping on photographic prints of, in this case, clouds. I think she took that and she applied it to her cardstock technique. So it got a really interesting look. So those of you on the the Facebook group, you might know what I'm talking about. Who did that one? Was it Verna? Was Verna in here? I don't know. I thought it was Verna. Did I say? I don't know. I know Verna's on some of these. I can't remember if she joined in this one or not. But yeah. So when you do something like this, and you do, you kind of tweak your things, oftentimes you'll take something, if you liked it, or, you know what I mean, if you didn't like it, you wouldn't be doing it. But if you like something that's happening within something that you did, just out of necessity, you might apply that now to other types of things. So some of the best techniques I got, and I'm not saying that these are, like awesome techniques or anything like that, but some of the best techniques that I've incorporated in with my regular stamping are definitely the ones where I was like trying to just, get something out of, out of a big heaping mess, so I had to think about it and do more work on it, and but But that's when you kind of step out of your comfort zone, though, right? Otherwise, we're doing kind of the same, I know with me, I'll do, similar techniques or something like that. And now these are a lot of techniques that I'm using before, but I just went a little bit more extreme on this one. So, um, to bail myself out, especially in the live stream. Anyway, all right, folks. I hope you have a great rest of evening. Okay, let me see. Ginger asked, if you spray with gloss, will the gold without ink stay glossy? I don't know, Ginger. I think it's going to take on a little bit more of a frosted look because I don't want to spray it too thick. You know what I mean? If I spray it too thick, then the white kind of disappears too much. So I spray it in phases. I'll give it a real thin spray, and I'll hit it again with a thin spray. So it's locking down that type of texturing and application in there without it turning too transparent. But the thing that I'll do is, I'm not going to try to do this too carefully, but see, right here, I'm just going to, I'll do it with a little bit of a, bigger piece of paper, but I'll take this like this, and I'll spray, I'll spray the, the sealant up here. I don't want a real definitive line, so I'm having this at a bit of a distance, a few inches, away from it, so that some of the sealant is going in there, but I'm hitting that heavily up there. And then I'll spray seal, you know what I mean? Right there, I'll hit it with a quick burst, where I'm kind of targeting that area a little bit more. And then I'll spray seal this area, right in here. All right. So I'll try to maintain at least some of the spirit of the super glassy, type of surface like that. Now, see, that's on this one right here, the silver was a little bit more glassy looking, but that's back when I was stamping these types of images with the Brilliance ink. These days on the mirror cards, I'm just using the StazOn on that, so I don't even need to spray seal this, these images anymore. So I don't know, I'm using a lot more StazOn for that type of purpose. But this one's just gonna have to be spray sealed because it's overall. But I'll just try to keep a little hint of the that real kind of glassy, kind of reflective area in there like that. Down here, it doesn't really matter too much because I'm hitting it with, I have a lot of the white down there anyway, so if it turns out a little bit more of a satiny type of gold and less reflective, then, it's not really too big of a deal. Although that looks pretty cool down there with my finger reflection down there so clear. It'll still, I'll just hit this real lightly though. I just need to lock down that white. Again, these images down there were stamped in StazOn again, so, I don't think I need to hit it too thick, in those regions like that. But, I don't know. Yeah. I also wanted to, like I said, I might want to use the spray fixative, though, because I'm kind of curious about colored pencils. Just a little hint of some, form in here with some colored pencil in here. So, I don't know. I mean, this is just an overall experiment anyway, so, what I mean? If I hit it with the spray fixative and it doesn't work, then, it wasn't precious, as my beginning painting teacher used to say all the time to everyone that didn't know if they wanted to try something or not, As I always say, I always have her voice in my head. It's not precious. So it's it isn't, So I know where everyone comes from because we were all like that as students too, you know what I mean? We don't want to ruin it, you know what I mean? So it's years later, it's oh, I see what all those teachers were talking about and just taking chances and trying things and stuff like that, But we all come from that sentiment. Yeah. Okay, so, when I spray seal it too, I don't want to make that, ink in there too transparent because I like that real kind of, smoky, cloudy, kind of misty feel in there too. So, light coats, Yeah, but I'll do it with the Krylon spray fixative, and if it looks like it's going to come out, nicely, and if the colored pencils are working in there, I'll shoot another video and I'll show you what that looks like, in terms of the application in there. But it can use a little bit like a little like a blue, like, I don't know, something like this, just little hints of it up here, bring some of this color up there and give the overall piece a little bit more color continuity like that, because I don't like that just having this blue only isolated right here through this section right here. So if I can bring a little bit of it up here, all the better, and on the moon as well. We'll see. So I don't know. I've been surprised at what those sealants can do, or what they can provide in terms of some additional layers of media, sometimes very thick layers of media, and then we just spray seal it again, so we have all these other layers of media sandwiched in between sealant layers like that. So I knew people that worked like that, but I never did it before. Usually I just use the spray sealant for a final coating, just to lock things down. But I knew someone that did oil painting and this professional illustrator, and I think he just used like super thick layers of Krylon and stuff like that, then put other layers over the top of it and spray sealed again, more transparent layers, spray sealed again, and there was like different kind of textural patterns being formed in there too. So it looked pretty interesting. So I don't know, maybe it's time to try the different things like that now. So anyways, if white stays on would be permanent, I don't know, but I need to get some of that and try it out. The sprays, I would do probably, the white stays on in terms of these clouds, impossible, okay? I would never be able to get that with that white stays on. I have the white stays on pad, okay? But I tried a couple things like that. But with this white stays on pad like that, if I ink up like this, even if I freshly inked it up properly, by the time I go down here like this, it was like dry. You know what I mean? So, something like this might be good to lay down, your general areas like that. But then if you have some areas that you want to stand out and look a little bit lighter, like right there, then maybe you go like this and you add that over the top of the brilliance ink like that. But I would never be able to get these subtle layers like that, and those like transition layers in there where it's like the gold is showing through with this right here. I mean, I couldn't do it. It was just, it dried so fast on me. It was just like, I couldn't do a lot of different things with it. But maybe the moon, you do that one in, your stays on or something like that, or the lighter area of it, and maybe hit the rest of it with a white brilliance or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. But it's a good question there. Candy's going to do that in experiment. Post it on, post it on Facebook so you know. Oh, but okay, so that being said, now I'm thinking about it, the white stays on. If you use the white stays on for that moon, I can probably just go and color it just directly right on top of there without sealing it off, which would be good. So, yeah. Yeah, that'd be the benefit of that part. Like that, so, yeah. I don't know. We all need airbrushes too, and just like airbrushing those clouds in the background like that using some, I don't know what kind of ink we would use. Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof White, maybe? I don't know. People used to use airbrushes, with that Copic thing. I don't see people using that too much anymore. All right, folks, have a great rest of evening. Thanks for joining in for this experiment. This. The Stampscapes lab. Yeah. So, when you go into your craft rooms, I mentioned this in the past. And in fact, I think I titled one of my pieces The Stampscapes Lab or something like that. Think about it going like into, once in a while, you know what I mean? You're going to break out and, try, just like pure experimentation. Think of your craft room as your, your laboratory, you know what I mean? when you're going there and doing these experiments, I think with that type of mindset, it really makes us open to, or it has us opened up a little bit more, at least, to, just like sheer experimentation without kind of, there's no consequences or anything like that. You're just going in there just to fiddle around and to play around with things like that. So I don't know. It's a good mindset, in terms of crafting. I believe, at least to some degree, if not 100% on some types of projects. All right, folks. We'll see you on the next. Hope to see you on the next live.